Welcome back. Glad you're still keeping us company. We want to now move on to the final segment of today's program, and this is entrepreneurship. And today we are going to be having a conversation about human resource and its management therein. For most an organization, human resource is something that you get to interact with when there's a problem or when you're being joining a company, when you're being employed. But looking at human resource as part of the integrity of any organization, what do you need to know as an entrepreneur if you're looking to venture into business, if you are already in business, or you are running an organization that has a huge pool of employees behind you? That is what we want to talk about today. And to help us with this conversation, we have with us one brilliant lady in studio this morning. She is Dr. Selina Ambe, who is the Managing Director at Capacity Building and Research Company Limited, as well as an author. Good morning, Dr. Selina.
Good morning.
Karibu sana. Good morning, Kenya.
Asante.
Thank you for making time to be with us today to share with us from your almost 30 years of experience in the human resource field.
Yes.
All right. Now let's just dive straight into it. And when we talk about HR in short, HR usually comes up when there's a problem. And especially if you're in the employed side of the divide, when there's a problem, that's when let me go to HR. When you're joining a company, that's when I go to HR. But when we talk about human resource and its management therein, what really does it encompass?
Actually, human resource is the strategic management of the human resource that any organization brings on board. And it has to be understood that human resource is the most valuable asset any organization can have, because without people, there would be no organization. And you need really to look very well after these people if you want productivity, if you want profitability, if you want your company to grow, you need to look after your people.
Yes. And maybe we could look at some of those issues that make human resource management in itself a vital part of any organization. And what are some of those benefits that, looking at the years of experience you have been interacting with the different organizations across the country, that you have seen that human resource management has contributed to that organization?
Actually, that is where my book comes in.
Yes.
It's called The Human Resource Management Scope. It starts from recruitment, whereby you look at, you as a board, or you as the organization per se.
Yes.
You look at the organizational chart and see the number of people you have in the organization. If there are any additional staff that you need to bring on board. There are various ways of recruitment. You can advertise, you can go, hunting, for these people.
And poaching.
Yeah, you can do that, but I don't think it's a very good idea to poach, because when it comes your turn for somebody to poach from you, it's very painful.
Yes.
Because nurturing an employee, once you have put them in place, is a very expensive affair.
Yes.
Yeah, so you recruit. Once they're on board, you need to train them, but you'll start with induction, because in any organization we have what is called organizational behavior.
Yes.
Each organization has a culture. So once you bring anybody on board, you need to induct them. Usually it takes 10 working days for one to be taken round. This will depend on the scope of the organization. If it is a smaller concern, maybe 5 days are enough, for this person to feel that, they are being embraced, they are becoming part of the family. Because any company or any organization is actually a company. When you leave home in the morning, this is your second family. You leave your family behind, the nucleus family, and then you go out there. Actually, this other organization, the other company, the other family is the biggest family, is the most important family, because you spend most of your productive hours with this family.
Okay.
So if you're not happy, it means when you come back in the evening at home, you're a very unhappy person. So this other organization must make you very happy for you to bring that happiness back home.
Employee satisfaction.
Employee satisfaction
is one of the key roles when it comes to human resource management.
Absolutely. And to get to employee satisfaction, there is something called conducting surveys, which is one of the things my company does.
Yes.
We conduct a lot of surveys. We conduct surveys in employee satisfaction, work environment, because if you don't have a conducive work environment, you are not going to get any productivity from your employees. They must have tools, they must have computers, they must have printers, they must have photocopiers. The place where they sit must be conducive. It should not be dirty, it should not be noisy, it must be just the conducive environment they can work within.
To encourage productivity?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So you need to carry out the surveys, once in a while, maybe after every 2 years, you start with what we call baseline survey. And after a year or two, you can now carry out what we call implementation, because out of the survey, you're going to get the feel of your employees, how they feel about your organization, what needs to be done to make them happier. It's not only money.
Yes.
You'll find that money is not a motivator. It's okay to pay your employees good money, but if you pay them a lot of money and they're still unhappy in various aspects, they are still not going to perform. So you need to ensure that they are happy in all aspects. And this can only come out, as I said, through conducting a survey. Now you'll get the feedback, then you implement the gray areas. If it is buying them new computers, it is maybe somebody wants mobility, maybe to move to a different department. You see how that can happen.
Yes.
And this is where training comes in. Perhaps somebody wants to change. They still have the basic skills, but they want to change from one department to another. It's good to give them that mobility. So once they go there, then we have what the last survey, which comes after implementation. Yeah, you must conduct that. So after every 6 years, you will know if you are on the right track.
Why 6 years?
Because every 2 years you have to conduct a survey.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to conduct a survey. And you'll find that majority of the people, like I've done a lot of surveys for government ministries and state corporations, because I also happen to be an independent external expert for performance contracting. And once I'm sent out to do the evaluation, through the strategic plan, I'm able to pick out the gray areas and I make recommendations. And in most cases, you'll find that employee satisfaction comes out and their work environment. You have to walk about to see, are the toilets clean? Why are they not clean? Are things broken all around? They need to be fixed. So these are the recommendations you make, that you must make your workforce environment conducive for your employees.
All right. Now, I'd like to touch a bit on the employee satisfaction bit, because, I am in that category, and also I'm speaking for a huge majority of the employed people.
Yes.
When it comes to employee satisfaction, I do believe it's tailored to each and every organization.
Yes.
But is there a baseline that, from where you stand as an HR expert, that every organization has to have certain keys or aspects as a baseline for employee satisfaction? We see some organization go for or take their employees on retreats, bonding, team building, agake, things like those. Others, they have like a mini bar within the organization to help them blow off steam. Others have a gaming area, others have a napping area, things like those. Are there baselines that you recommend each organization to have when it comes to ensuring that employee satisfaction is at the core of the human resource management?
Actually, that comes out from the recommendations. Sorry. It comes out of the recommendations. And I've also conducted retreats.
Yes.
Normally, we go away from the workplace. Sometimes, I remember the last one I did was for one huge ministry. I'm not going to name it.
Yes.
We went to Mombasa for a week. And, it really boosts the morale of the employees. And we did it in 3 segments, because you don't want some employees feeling that they've been left out. So you work from the bottom to up. You are just not going to take department heads.
Yes.
Then there is no bonding. So you have to sample. If this time you pick 2 department heads, then you come down the second level of managers, you come to the middle level, and then you come to the front line. And then you even go to T-Girl and the messenger. You have to pick somebody from every classification. And then if everybody is going by air, let them go by air. Don't let this retreat make people feel that the
Classism.
MD, they are still being classified as
Yes.
important. You are trying to have that flat structure where everybody is going to feel that they are on the same level. So I did that, and we all went by bus, different buses. We were like 10 buses. We headed all the way to Mombasa, and I think that was wonderful, because on the way you're bonding, and I made sure that the PS, the minister, did not sit in the same bus. The minister and the second, down the pyramid, they were in one bus, and the next bus like that, and the next one. So you really let them engage with their very low, kind of staff.
The junior
and I
employees.
also made sure that I went in the buses and saw the seating arrangement, so that not two senior people were seated on the two seats.
Yes, together.
You have the PS sitting here and the T-girl sitting here. But the time we got to Mombasa, the PS was being addressed as James, not Mr. So-and-so.
Yes.
So you see, already the ice had been broken. And then we were there. I ensured that those people who didn't know how to swim, we made arrangements with the swimming instructor
Yes.
there to show them how to swim. So we actually had a schedule. You wake up in the morning, after breakfast we would run to the beach and do some exercises. We came back, and then we had breakfast after showering, and then by 9:30 we would be in the conference room having some presentations. After the 10 o'clock tea we would have something else, and then after lunch, because Mombasa is very hot, people would be left to do their own thing. We don't go back in class. We didn't want to make it look like we were in class. And during those sessions I would present things like stress management at work, and you find a lot of stress is actually caused by supervisors. Somebody breathing down your neck, how far have you gone? When are you going to finish this thing? Try to put your priorities and give people time to work on any assignment you've given them. Don't be on their back, because you are just creating that hostility. You are creating conflict. And that is what we are trying to get away from when we go for these kind of retreats.
All right.
We do things like although I'm not a nutritionist, but we also try to engage them to know what kind of foods that they should.
The diet. Yeah.
So you just let them know, like in the morning, for example, you could easily make yourself juice from cucumber, hoho, lemon and ginger. It's beautiful, a glass of that, and it also cleanses your blood system.
Okay.
So we also give this kind of information. And of course, we have to do it carefully, because we are staying in a hotel, and we don't want them to think that, we are getting them out of business. So swimming, we enjoyed it. And by the time we were done the 5 days, they were asking me, when are you coming back? Because you find the environment, the atmosphere at work is changed. The PS would leave his door open, so that when anybody wants to see him, they can see he's in. You're not being told he's not there, and maybe he's there because the door is closed. The door would be open. If you want to see him, you have to say why you want to see him, and nobody should ever be denied, because you never know. Maybe this person you're trying to refuse is just coming to save your life. So it's not all about them bringing their problems to you. And it's also just a way of them bonding with you, because they feel good to have you there as their head.
And consequently contributing to a better performance.
Absolutely. And anytime you ask them even to work overtime, they're always willing to do it.
Gladly.
But you find people who are mistreated. They're actually watching their watches. When it is 4:30, they run to the loo. They want that half hour to finish. When they just come in the offices to pick their bags and run out. But you find somebody who is well treated, they don't watch their clocks. They don't watch time. And they feel they want to belong. They're always happy to wake up in the morning and say, yes, I'm going to work.
Okay. Now, that brings me to another aspect that you could tell us a bit about when it comes to human resource management. And this is about promotions and employees. We have seen people who have plateaued at certain positions. They have stagnated at certain organizations, doing the same job, the same role for even a decade without any promotions or any change of environment. As when it comes to human resource management, what are the recommendations when it comes to promotion of employees
I don't think
and
that
looking
should
at the
happen.
time.
And that is where, again, employee satisfaction surveys come in, because there is, and then there is also another one called training needs assessment.
Yes.
You can combine them, or you can do them, separately. So that each individual is given an opportunity to say, to speak out. They are speaking to their employees, their employers. They usually don't put their names, so you cannot, somebody can't come and say, oh, you said this. No, so you are actually asked, where do you think, or what do you think we should do? These are tools I actually build when I take up any survey. I have to build a tool tailored to a particular organization.
Yes.
So and then I also have what we call one-on-one, because it's
with
just
the
not
employees,
all,
that is?
With all the employees. I start from the top. Even the top people have their own issues, and they can speak to you confidentially, knowing that you are not going to repeat. Maybe they are having issues with their employees, and they want somebody who can tell them without them going direct. So when I make my recommendations, because I have to present the report at the end of the survey, I would present in slides, and everybody is invited. So I just go through. So the lower level employees and the senior most, they are always present, and all these recommendations are there. And you find actually when you come back during implementation, you want to know what was done and what has not been done, and why was it not done. And then we have what we call the exit survey now, giving recommendations for emerging issues, because we live in a dynamic environment, and things are not static. So you find that what was in place 5 years ago is not in place today.
And that is obsolete for that matter.
And that is why we have strategic plans. They are all strategies. You cannot say for sure that this is what will be happening next year or 2 years from now. So strategic plan is also a very important tool vis-a-vis, human resource management.
And that is where also this aspect of promotion falls in, after you've gathered all the information that you need when it comes from the employees and the supervisors.
Those who need to be trained, development. That's where it comes in. Maybe they want to go up the ladder. What do they need to do? If they need to go back to university, do they need to do a master's degree, or just the basic, first degree, or do they need to do a PhD to get to the level they want to? So this is where training and development comes in. Because there are those employees who want to feel they're part of this organization, as I said. And they want to remain there. And to do so, they have to go through all these stages.
All right. And also looking at now a bit more personal to the employees when it comes to policies that are in-house to specific organizations. And these things are boiled down to alcohol and drug abuse, as well as sexual and gender-based violence policies within an organization. As an HR expert, what would you advise when it comes to having in-house policies around such social and personal issues? Actually,
a human resource management handbook is a must. I don't know whether everybody has it, but that is a must, so that any new employee joining the organization is given a copy. And you have to sign that you have received a copy, so that if you abuse alcohol and drugs, you are on your way out, because it's something you signed. And you said, I will never abuse drugs or alcohol when I'm on duty. You must be sober. And also there are always also surveys conducted in drug and substance abuse, and certain people who may be very brilliant to the who can make who are valuable to the organization can be helped, so that they can either be sent to a rehab, or they can be talked to, so that they improve. There are a lot of organizations. I remember I've also done several surveys in alcohol, drug and substance abuse. And there are people who have been helped. They have been sent to the right places. Some of them are sent to Asumbi or Mombasa for 6 months, and when they come back, actually, they have improved. And the organization will keep them on.
So it is necessary for organizations that have especially a huge pool of employees,
yes,
to have such policies in-house.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, let's move on and look at, we are living in a time where unemployment is quite real for so many young people. And therein comes the question, every year we see thousands of graduates sent out into the job market. Is it a question of a shortage of opportunities for these graduates, or a shortage of skilled labor that is necessary to the market?
I think there are two ministries that are very key here. The Ministry of Devolution, because you see it would be looking at the entire country.
Yes.
And the Ministry of Public Service, because it has a Department of Youth in there. It is their duty to ensure that these young people are given the information. And another thing is there is a 30% slot which our President Kenyatta put in place to go to the youth, women, and people living with disabilities. You might find a youth who is a woman, she's actually filling the 3 slots, She's a youth, she's a woman, and she could be disabled. So, she has an advantage. All they need to do is to go to any Huduma center, and they'll give her or him information on how to form a company. Once they do that, they'll be asked to go and pick up a certificate from a Sharia house. And they should be on the lookout, for tenders. It's all MyGov. I see it every week.
So you encourage the entrepreneurial spirit, as opposed to...
They should just not wait to be employed.
Yes.
There are a lot of opportunities, and we have the Youth Fund, whereby they can be given youth money to start up little small businesses. And this should just not be around Nairobi. It should, just go around the country through the devolution ministry. They should ensure that the youth are empowered. They are given the information that they need to, set up companies through AGPO. Yeah, and if they have any questions, actually they can ask the National Treasury, because I think that is the mother where AGPO, information is, sent
where
out.
the handbag is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the youth have a lot of opportunities.
Yes.
It's just that maybe they don't have that information, and they don't have to wait to be employed. They may look for jobs as interns, because everybody would like to have somebody doing work on a voluntary basis. That is everywhere. So once you have the feel of how administration is done, how letters come in, how they are written, how they are sent, they could even be sent out as messengers, out there, but they are gaining the work experience, which nobody else can give them. They can only do as interns. Yeah, anybody would be willing to take on an intern. Once they get that experience, then they can go ahead and, form their own company and even be employers.
Use it to their advantage.
Yeah.
So yes.
The youth have a lot of opportunity in this country. It's just that maybe they are not opening their eyes enough. Yeah, they do.
And what does that tell you when it comes to the human resource pool in Kenya, as opposed to the different spaces that you've been able to interact with over the, almost 3 decades of your experiencing human resource?
I don't know how to put it, but I think in Kenya today, it's just the political arena, the changing political arena that maybe, that is what I would say is putting a lot of hiccups to job opportunities. But if the youth or anybody else, not only the youth, anybody else who is focusing on getting a job, I think we do have a lot of opportunities in this country. You just look at any sector, be it agriculture, because the youth could get into farming and, produce different types of foods. And, I have read quite a number of young people who have become farmers, and they're doing very well.
Yes.
So it just depends on how one is willing, and how open-minded one wants to become. The opportunities are there. I can't say Kenya is so bad, because I've worked also in the United States of America for over 10 years. And I think apart from nursing, the other opportunities are quite, you don't have so much opportunity in looking for jobs. You just find there are a lot of challenges. Yeah, so I think Kenya, if the right systems are put in place,
yes,
I think everyone would be able to get employment. And as I said, you don't have to be employed all the time. Like when I came back in 2006, I used to work for the International Monetary Fund in the US. The first thing I did was to form a company, and I still run that company today as a research company. It has enabled me to do a lot of work for the Kenya government,
yes,
and the state corporations. And I think that is enough on my plate because we have over 300 state corporations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, also bearing in mind that the times are changing,
yes,
and the youth dividend is also one of the groups that is heavily affected when it comes to employment opportunities, entrepreneurship opportunities, and we're also alive to the fact that the online space is also coming in strong. When looking back at the time that you were setting up your organization,
yes,
what are some of those things that you would advise the young people today to be attentive and very particular about when it comes to setting up a business? And of course, bearing in mind that they may not have the financial purchasing power to bring on board a team of human resource.
It's not always that you must employ people. For example, my company is a research company. Once I get an opportunity, then I have a pool of resumes. I will call those people, they come and work with me. So there are those opportunities. You know, it's not always easy to employ, because it's a huge, you must have millions of shillings to start up a company. It's not cheap. But you can also start a company as a one person, or if you have partners who can pull in money. The major thing you need to have is something called a business plan. Yeah, the business plan will, you must do what we call a feasibility study in the area that you want to operate in, to see who your competition is, because the competitors are always there. You must scan the environment to know what opportunities do I have. There is SWOT, you know.
SWOT analysis.
Yeah, you must look at that. You know, you must see what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are your opportunities, and what are the threats. You must look at all that. And then if it's a marketing company, you know, you must look at how you can market your company. And in any case, I don't think it's only a marketing company. Any business, you have to promote it. How can you go about doing that? And then, of course, we have what is called risks. Every time, even when you leave your house in the morning, there is a risk on the way. You don't know whether you are going to get to your place of work, or you don't know whether you will come back to your house in the evening, but risks are there.
Okay.
Yeah, there is theft, for example. You know, you could be running a company and you have staff who are stealing from you. So you must look at ways of tying the knots so
minimizing your risk,
that doesn't happen. Yeah, and yeah.
All right. Now, as we bring the conversation to a close, you know, looking at the fact that you've authored a book all about human resource, and there's so many young people who could be watching us today, and they're just looking to find a way when it comes to managing themselves as they venture into the entrepreneurship world. Your advice to organizations that have a huge pool of employees, startups as well, because startups, you know, it's always a challenge the first 3 years, and the entrepreneurial rather group. That is your camera right there. Maybe you could just give some advice as you close.
Actually, this book tells it all, because as I said, it starts from recruitment. You may not have people on board yet, but it will give you an opportunity on the recruitment process. Then, you know, once you have recruited them, you induct them, you train and develop them. Once they are in, you know, you want to know how you can manage these people. There is something called the appraisal system. All those chapters are here. You know, you have to appraise your staff to know that, you know, they are actually productive. Otherwise, you don't want to be paying somebody who just comes and sits at her desk 8 o'clock. You know, they are browsing the internet the whole day. In the evening, they go. They should be able to tell you over time, what do they do between 8 and 5? They must be able to justify themselves to continue to be in that position. And then there is something called conflict management. there is conflict everywhere, including the workplace. Supervision is one way of, you know, a conflict, just, or even staff to staff. You find there is a conflict, and human resource department or the manager plays a key role in bringing these people together. Yeah, so you find that conflict management is key. Yeah. So you have, and then there is communication.
Yes.
Yeah, there are different channels of communication. What I would discourage people doing is to engage in grapevine, because that comes to, you know, people just gossiping. That kind of communication should not go around.
Okay.
Yeah, it must be email, you know, it must be documented, so that if there is any problem, you can always pull out that information.
This record.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Remember, this has been our entrepreneurship segment. Hey, Kisungu inakataa kutoka. Entrepreneurship, all about understanding the human resource when it comes to any organization or business that you might be looking to start up, and especially so where the youth are involved. We have been speaking with Dr. Selina Ambe, who is the Managing Director of Capacity Building and Research Company Limited, who is also an author. Thank you so much for making time to be with us
and
today.
Before we pen off, I just want to say that copies of this book can be gotten from my publisher. It's called Makutano Press, and I'll leave the contact with you so that whoever wants to. The email is makutano.press@gmail.com.
All right.
So if somebody is trying to get a copy, they can actually send an email to the publisher.
All right, so thank you so much for making time to be with us once again. This brings us to a close of Good Morning Kenya. Thank you for being with us this far. Be sure to join us again tomorrow morning. For now, goodbye. I'm Jain Wambui.